are going to wait one more minute as we continue to have different schools join. So we're just going to give it one more minute and then we will get started. Thank you all so much for being here. I see we have a question regarding muting. That's a great question. When you log in, if you could just check and make sure you are muted, you should be, and you should be able to post questions, but you should be muted. And if you're not, please mute yourself.
You may begin.
Thank you so much. Well, again, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for the Palm Beach County Bar Association's Law Week Committee, Careers in the Law. My name is Gemma Torsivia. I'm an attorney here in Palm Beach County and a native of Palm Beach County and a graduate of Palm Beach County Public Schools. And I'm excited to be a part of this committee today and a part of this presentation to speak with you about different careers in the law that are available for you. You know, growing up in Palm Beach County, you know, you learn a lot of things, but there are certain careers I think that maybe get highlighted more than others. And so as our committee was talking this year, we wanted to really make sure that we provided an opportunity for students to learn about different careers in the law, but more than just about the career, about what it would take to pursue that career. And so these are things that we're hoping can bring some insight as you think about your future and you think about your future careers. We have a really great panel for you today. And in just one moment, I'm going to share my screen and begin our presentation. As we go through this presentation, I would ask that if you have questions, you can type them into the Q&A or also into the chat, whatever is easier for you. And the questions will be held until the end. So at the end of the presentation, we will go through the questions and we will ask the ones, as many as we're able to get through of the panelists. So with that said, thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to begin sharing my screen and we'll start with this presentation. So as I mentioned, we are here today to discuss careers in the law. And we are very excited to have a really incredible panel for you today. We have Sherry Weber. Sherry, do you want to just give a wave? Then we have Elroy John Jr. Elroy, thank you. We have Judge Luis Delgado Jr. and Professor Vanessa Calcano-Thomas. She's actually in a hearing, and so hopefully she'll be able to join us. But if not, I have her portion pre-recorded. So if she's not able to get here live, we do still have her portion. And with that, let's get started. So today, our first panelist will be Sherry Weber, and she'll be talking with you about the first job that we're going to talk about today, available in the law, which is a job of paralegal.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Sherry Weber, and for the past 15 years, I've been a litigation paralegal with the Palm Beach County Attorney's Office. I have the privilege of being here to give you a glimpse into the paralegal profession. A little bit about myself. I received my associate's degree in legal studies while working as a legal secretary over 25 years ago. Since that time, I've completed additional education programs, classes, seminars, and have passed the national test to receive my certified paralegal designation from the National Association of Legal Assistants, my Florida certified paralegal designation from the Florida Paralegal Association, which is specific to Florida laws. And when in 2008, the Florida Bar formally recognized the value of the paralegal community and began registering those with specific qualifications, I obtained my Florida registered paralegal designation. According to the Florida Bar and the ABA, a paralegal is a person with education, training, or work experience who works under the direction and supervision of an employing or supervising lawyer and performs specifically designated substantive legal work for which the employing or supervising lawyer is responsible. While paralegals have many jobs and tasks, they are not permitted to accept cases, set fees, give legal advice, or represent clients in court. There are some federal administrative agencies that do have the option to give permission for a paralegal or other lay persons to represent someone in a proceeding. Some of those agencies would be your Internal Revenue Service, the Immigration Naturalization Service, Social Security Administration, and there are a few others that I don't have at this time. What is a paralegal? Some of the duties that the paralegals do are meeting with the client. They're allowed to meet with them, take their information, but again, they do not accept them as a client. That is something only the attorney is able to do. They draft documents, go through discovery, correspondence. They, depending on your specialization, you could be going through tax records or looking at medical records and summarizing, giving the attorney and the team the brief snapshot that they need to make the case and pull the case together. They are also able to file documents, whether it's in civil courts, federal courts, administrative courts. One of the main responsibilities is maintaining the file. You need to be able to grab, or in this day and age, electronically find very quickly that pleading that was filed 3 years ago to help your attorney out in a dire emergency. And they're all dire emergencies, even if they're not. Part of the reason that
Sherry, your audio is muted.
Sorry about that, it just went off. I apologize. So paralegals have a lot of different tasks and assignments that they are able to fulfill, including, investigating the witnesses and clients for some matter. You still have to do the background and make sure that your client is giving you all the information so you don't get any surprises when you go into court. As a litigation paralegal, I have the added benefit of going to trial with my attorneys and helping them to make the best case possible by making sure they have the exhibits, the materials, the video queued up for the person's deposition, and to make the whole presentation and package look good. One of the things with the paralegal profession is it has grown substantially in the past 25 years alone. And it continues to grow because the costs that are associated with a paralegal being part of the law firm or law environment team helps cut down on the overhead cost of having a higher and more people in the workplace. When the paralegal is able to do it and draft it and do some of the research for the attorney, it lets the attorney take his time or her time to really review the material that is there and, add to it, delete to it, and maybe give another perspective on what type of thing is needed in it. There are many paralegals today who have had prior professions, nurses, bankers, accountants. We've had insurance investigators. We've had teachers come in. We've had social workers who have went back to school after seeing everything and going through and realizing that they were able to give value as well. So you might not start out thinking you want to be a paralegal. You might try something else and then realize, no, you're leaning more towards that. And that is an awesome step in the door. It's still going to take time and education, but if it's something you want to do, I think it's possible for anyone to do. The average salary in Florida in 2019 was around $51.30. Today, based on a public records request that was done a few weeks ago to 13 municipalities in the state of Florida, The average is closer to 62,500. Of course, as you have more experience in more specialized niches, it is going to be higher. The wonderful thing is it's rewarding in itself to be a paralegal for me, but it also provides a comfortable living with growth possibilities for you, whether you're deciding to go further in your education, or if this is something you want to do, if you want to be part of a bigger team. The skills you need for this, most of all, you need to be organized. You need to be able to listen, not just sit there and nod your head when someone's saying something, but actually listen to what is coming out and catch the information that they are giving you, because they might only give it to you once because they've thought, I gave it to them, they should know it. You need to be able to write coherent notes for yourself. So therefore you are able to give that information on to the rest of your team so that they can use it. Everyone has some type of self-doubt. I have it every day, I'm not going to lie, but you have to be able to express what you think about a person, something you found, and you give that information to your attorney so that way they have that insight as well. And once you start working with someone, with a team, then you respect and understand how the other person's process a little better. So they might say, yeah, Sherry, I understand that. However, that's not the direction that we need to go with this case. You don't take offense to it and you move on with it, but at least you know you haven't held anything back, because it is fast paced. You need to be able to do research on certain things, whether someone said they had an accident at 4 o'clock in the morning, but there were no lights on, or the lights were flashing at the intersection when the accident happened. Well, I walked in that store and there wasn't a puddle, there wasn't a sign, just little different things like that that you need to be able to investigate and take the initiative to do other things. Writing is a big portion of being able to do, thank you, Gemma, that you have to be able to put your thoughts down clearly, so that way other people, if you happen to be doing something else, they can pick it up and take care of it for you. In most states, there is no specific education. This is totally true. A lot of paralegals that are of my age have started out doing other things, and being a legal secretary, and then moving up and getting their education in-house, which is a valuable experience. However, most firms and positions nowadays want to see that you have taken that extra step, whether you've gone to do a certification class or you've taken classes in legal writing, research, and showing that you're committed to it, because they don't want to spend all their time and their energy training you to be the paralegal that is going to be of value to their team if you're not going to stick with it. So you have to show that you're willing and you want to do this as well. And I'll just tell you one of the quick funny things. I luckily get to go to trial with my attorneys, and one of the best things that I've gotten to do is, at one point I got to bring in a railroad bell. The judge wouldn't let us play it in front of the jury because he didn't want it to hurt our ears, but we did get to play it for him in the courthouse, which was quite loud. And it's just, there's always something different. So I hope if you're looking into anything and thinking about the legal field, that a paralegal profession, even if it's not your last stop, that you think about it for your first stop. Thank you.
Sherry, thank you so much. I do think that, a paralegal is a job that not a lot of people, maybe know too much about. So I think that was a very helpful both overview and an explanation of how to get that job, how to become in that role. So I think that was exciting. Our next speaker we have for you here today is Elroy John. He is an attorney and will be speaking with you about the job of an attorney and how you become an attorney. So with that, Elroy, do you want to take it away?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Like Gemma said, my name is Elroy John. I do practice as an attorney in South Florida. I manage my own law firm. It's the Florida Justice Law Firm. It's only been open a short while, less than a year actually. Before that, I was an associate attorney at a smaller firm, did personal injury and some civil rights work at that firm. My firm now, I still do personal injury. I also do criminal work, criminal defense work. I do civil rights and some general civil litigation. Um, I became an attorney a little later in life. I had already had 2 or 3 prior careers. I served some time in the military. I worked in the nonprofit sector, a lot of social services work with foster kids, with veterans. I worked in the corporate sector. I managed people, supervised corporate work in real estate jobs, things of that nature. So I had a little miles on me when I became a lawyer, which is okay. One of the good things about law school is, and being a lawyer is it is a career that lends itself to experience in a way that I think a lot of careers where you can go straight from college maybe don't. Um, and I found that having that experience has been a benefit to me. So whenever you start, as long as you have the will and the drive, it's the right time for you if you decide this is the right thing for you. I guess we'll talk a little bit more about what it actually means to be an attorney. And this slide kind of lays it out. You know, an attorney goes by other names: lawyer, advocate. Um, One of the main things I wanted to take away from this slide, though, is that the lawyer's function is to provide assistance, and incumbent on that, they're to do it to the best of their ability. The lawyer's first and foremost responsibility is to serve his or her client and to do it well, and to also do it within the rules, within the bounds of the rules set upon lawyers. Lawyers occupy a formal role within the courts. They are officers of the courts. You'll learn that if you pursue this career, and certain expectations are incumbent on attorneys to act in a certain way, to present themselves in a certain way, to be truthful. And the courts and everyone in this profession takes those responsibilities very seriously. And there are serious penalties if you don't. There's an extra expectation and somewhat burden that comes on you rather than the average layperson once you take on the role of attorney. And it's important to consider that when you're looking at this career. As the slide points out, there are a lot of different responsibilities that an attorney may have: advising clients, litigating cases, developing case strategies, preparing pleadings. Pleadings are claims or defenses, meaning a lawsuit or a response to a lawsuit. Appearing in court. There are many lawyers who may never step foot in a courtroom, and there are a lot of lawyers who are in courtroom every week, like myself, virtually or in person these days. Types of attorneys. So that leads us into, if you're looking at this career, it's important to kind of know just how many facets there are to this career. Being attorney isn't just what you see on TV. It's not just Law and Order where you're in court and there's a big verdict or a criminal trial. You can be a criminal attorney, and it's exciting work. It can be exciting work. But you can also be a transactional attorney. Some attorneys' main focus is advising their clients. It may be business clients, helping them set policies for their businesses, helping them write manuals for their employees to abide by. It could be litigating, meaning actually disputing and handling every aspect of a client's lawsuit. A trial attorney, meaning going to court and actually putting a case before a jury, or in some cases before a judge only, and looking for a verdict at the end or a judgment at the end. There are lawyers in government whose main function is policy alone, helping lawmakers devise and set policies. So there's a lot of different facets that you should explore when you're thinking about becoming a lawyer, because it's not just one type of way to be an attorney. And that's one of the best parts of the job, the variety that's before you. So why I should become an attorney? The first slide deals with money. And look, money is important, and that should absolutely be a consideration. But let me tell you, and I'm sure most of the lawyers on this panel will agree, and paralegals alike will agree, that shouldn't be the main driving motivation for you. Take a look at the money. Take a look at what other lawyers are earning and where you live. Think about the lifestyle you want to lead, how important money lands in your priorities and what it means for you as far as success is concerned. But don't let it be the only guiding fact. There are a lot of attorneys that make a lot of money. There are a lot of attorneys who work in the nonprofits and government work who don't make that much money, but they are 100% fulfilled by the work. And you got to decide what means more to you and what your priorities are, because there's a price for everything. If you're one of these lawyers making several $100,000 a year in one of these big firms, you're making a lot of money, but there's a trade-off in the lifestyle that you lead. You may not have as much time, especially early on, to really enjoy life and that money, and that may be okay to begin with. You got to decide that. But so these numbers are accurate as they exist right now. As you can see, there's a pretty wide spread between what you may earn initially coming out, and that's based on a lot of factors, whether you do a clerkship, whether you have prior experience, whether you're an experienced attorney. So take your time, and that's going to change by the time you guys are ready to look at this career. So yes, look at that factor, but the most important thing is don't let it be the only guiding factor. Where's where this slide comes in and talks about some of the realities of being an attorney. You should evaluate your personal goals, your strengths and abilities, and your areas of interest in the legal arena. Sherry mentioned there's a lot of writing involved in her work. That's the same for a lawyer, reading and writing. If you don't like reading and writing, it's really something you have to consider, because you do a lot of it as a lawyer. A lot of your arguments are going to spring for what the law is. The law is constantly changing, and you have to be on top of it, which means you got to read. And some cases are more fun to read than others. You know, some judges write better than others. I'm sure Judge Delgado writes great. We got him today, but you know, a lot of others don't do so great. A career in the law requires intelligence, diligence, and perseverance. You need that just getting through law school. I went to law school at night and worked full time. In fact, both my undergraduate and my law degrees I earned while working full time after I got out of the service. Your situation may be different, but the work itself is going to demand those qualities from you. And taking the bar, one thing I would leave you with on this slide is you are going to be measured on what you are doing now, what you do in undergraduate, and how you test on the LSAT, the admission test required for all attorneys to enter an ABA approved law school. You should be putting your best foot forward now as a high school student in anything that you do, because whether it's becoming an attorney or anything else in life, people are going to look back at what you do. But you shouldn't be defined by those numbers. You should put your best foot forward. You should leave high school being proud of the work you did because you did your best. And the same thing with every other level of your education. But don't let those numbers define you, because at the end of the day, what really matters in law school is that you understand what your responsibility is to your clients. The rest will take care of itself. So speaking about what it requires to become an attorney: graduate high school, attend and graduate from college, take the LSAT, the law school admissions test, attend and graduate from an ABA accredited law school. 3 years if you're going full-time. It's usually around 4 years if you go part-time like I did. You should take high school courses required for admission to the college you wish to attend. Your high school and your college courses, you should keep them wide and varied. Law school pulls from a variety of disciplines in far as who is successful. Courses in logic, courses in science, all kind of courses can benefit you. So you should really talk to lawyers in the fields that you want to practice in, that you think you may want to practice in, and get an idea of what they did to be successful. And again, the running theme: language is the tool of the lawyer. Being able to write, to communicate your ideas, your arguments to whoever your audience is, whether it's a judge or jury, there's just no substitute. You have to be good at it, and it takes time and practice. How do I become an attorney? Law school costs vary greatly. It costs a lot to go to law school, and it's only getting more expensive. That's another factor you should really think about. There are a lot of grants and scholarships out there that you should be looking at now if this is something you're thinking about pursuing. But you should also understand the loan process and how that works, what you're really taking on, what options there are for repayment. All those things should be part of what you're thinking about as you prepare to explore this career. Law school graduates receive a Juris Doctor degree. We do receive a Juris Doctor degree, but we normally don't call ourselves doctors. In Florida, in order to represent clients, you have to pass the bar exam. There's no ifs, ands, or buts or ways around it. You got to get through the bar exam. All law students fear it. But if you put everything into your studies, like I said, you should be putting your best foot forward in everything. You should trust your studies, trust the way that you study, and trust your preparation. You will do fine on it. But this slide is important. Your actions and conduct are important even now. The Florida bar not just tests you, but it looks back at your history, your conduct, who you are as a person. If you're accumulating a lot of criminal records, things of that nature along the way, all that is going to become a barrier or challenge to you getting into law school. So if you're making that decision to explore this profession, you got to start thinking about that stuff now and keeping your path on the straight and narrow as best you can.
Elroy, thank you so much. I think that becoming an attorney is certainly a profession that is not for everyone, but if it is for you, I think there are a lot of upsides to it. And much like Elroy, I actually was a career changer. I went to the University of Florida and I was a high school teacher. And then I worked in government, and then I went to law school when I was 30. So, there are a lot of different ways that you can become an attorney. There's different paths to victory, for lack of a better way to say it. But and it's something that if you feel like maybe you're not ready for, maybe you want to do the military first, maybe you want to do Teach for America or Peace Corps or AmeriCorps first. There are a lot of good programs out there if you want to pursue them before you pursue a career as an attorney. With that said, I'm excited to introduce Judge Delgado to speak to you about becoming a judge, which is a real honor. And so we're very excited to have him here today. Judge?
Thank you, Gemma. So my name is Judge Lou Delgado. I'm a circuit judge here in the 15th Circuit, which is all of Palm Beach County. Being a judge is a constitutional officer of the state of Florida. What that means is that that's who I'm responsible to, is the laws of the state of Florida. When I talk to children, I want to impress upon them how serious this job is. And so the first things I will always tell you is that it's such a serious position that the Constitution of the state of Florida has authorized a judge to do important things. For example, one, I can grant divorces among parents, even one of them doesn't want to get divorced. I can terminate parental rights, meaning I can take children away from parents forever. I can order that large sums of money be paid from one person or party to another. I can order that there be people put in prison under certain circumstances, and under other circumstances, order the execution of a criminal defendant. I think these are incredibly heavy and important decisions, and so I take the job very, very seriously. By way of background, I'm an immigrant. I was born in South America, and I learned to love this country very early. And so when I was 18, I enlisted in the United States Marine Corps, became a sergeant. After college, I became a prosecutor here in Palm Beach County, eventually went into private practice, and in 2016, I got elected judge. But I think service is something that motivated me to this position, and it's really important, at least to me. It's why I did all those things, and it's one of the reasons why, as an aside, I would tell you, you should be thankful and grateful for your teachers. I think they're putting you on the path to success, and if it wasn't for my teachers, I wouldn't be here. And I'm a product of the Palm Beach County School District. I went to Meadow Park Elementary, I went to Coniston Middle School, and I went to John I. Leonard for high school. So like many of you, I grew up here, and thanks to the educators and the education they provided, I'm here where I am, and I think that you can be here too. A judge is an elected position, or it's appointed by the governor. What that means is when judges retire, sometimes the governor can fill that vacancy, or sometimes the voters get to select who the judge is going to be. Either way, every 6 years, judges have to face the voters to see if they're going to be retained. Because all those very important and awesome decisions that the judge has to make, that the Constitution is given the authority to do, they're a public trust. And so you're responsible to the public. And so every 6 years, you have to face the voters. Judges are supposed to be neutral, detached, impartial. They're not supposed to know what they're going to do before they hear all the evidence and hear the lawyers. Judges are what's called the finder of law. What that means is that we decide how the law is going to be used in a case. But there's times where there's no jury, and the judge is also the finder of fact. What that means is the judge decides what actually happened during the case. When you have a jury, the jury is the finder of fact in the case, and the judge is only the finder of law, meaning I tell the jury what law they have to use, and they decide what happens. So it depends on how the judge is sitting, what they end up doing. In America, people are free from unreasonable searches and seizures unless there's a warrant. And so if you're a police agency or police officer and you need to get a warrant, then you have to go to a neutral and detached magistrate or judge and have them approve a warrant. So that's one of the things that I also do is when there's search warrants or arrest warrants, police agencies or prosecutors will bring that to the judge's attention to see if they'll approve it, and then we approve it and they can go execute it. Currently, I'm a judge over a juvenile division. And so that makes things a little bit different. Juveniles, because they're under the age of 18, are not considered to have engaged in criminal conduct. Instead, it's delinquent conduct because the brain isn't fully developed yet. In a juvenile courtroom, the judge is both the finder of fact, meaning I determine what happens, and the finder of law, meaning I determine what law is going to be used. There's a prosecutor and a defense attorney that will present their case to me. So right now, I get to do both. And like was mentioned earlier, I have to write orders on what it is that I hear. And I can tell you, on average, my orders are anywhere from 25 to 40 pages and sometimes in 70 to 80 pages, depending on what it is that I'm hearing. So if you like this job, you have to be very academic focused. You have to know that you love reading and writing and research. But I'll do that after I hear from both the state and the defense and they present their arguments to me, and then I make up my mind. You have to be unbiased. You have to be neutral and detached until you're ready to make a decision. Like I said, for me, I like the academics. I like the reading. I like the research. I like the writing. And so for me, this is the job that I wanted to do. And I didn't think I would. I thought I wanted to be a lawyer forever. I liked advocating. I liked being in the courtroom and presenting a case to a jury, to a judge. But in about 2009, I was in front of a judge. I think everybody should have role models, and he was mine. I thought he was a brilliant person, and I respected him so much that he changed the trajectory of my career. After being in front of that person for a year, all I wanted to be was like this person. And so if that's the kind of thing that you find rewarding, then, this is the job for you. I think that the pay is pretty good. On the slide there, it says we can earn between $150,000 to $220,000. I'm a circuit judge in the state of Florida. My salary is a matter of law. Anybody can look it up. I think currently it's about $166,000. If I was on the appellate court, it would be about $185,000, and the Florida Supreme Court gets about $220,000. And so I think it's a good job for people who like the reading, the research, and the writing, and who have an interest in listening to the cases and issuing the orders. We have a real high standard for ethics and conduct. We're, again, public officers. There is a public trust. We have to avoid any appearance of impropriety. So if I see something that I think someone is going to worry about my neutrality, I have to tell them right away. And if they want me not to listen to the case, then depending on whether it's a good reason, I will come off the case, because everybody's entitled to a fair process. And so we go out of our way to make sure that the process is fair. If I'm not, I think one of the worst things a judge can do is be biased, because our system is about everybody getting treated equal. And so impartiality is of paramount importance. We're encouraged to participate in activities to improve the law and legal system. It's one of the reasons I'm doing this. We're not allowed to participate in politics. So for example, if somebody was running for local mayor or Congress, that's something that we stay out of, because inevitably some of these things have to come in front of the court, and we want to be neutral and detached. And so we stay out of politics. But talking to children about the law is something that we can definitely do. There's no schools for judges. In other countries, there are. In other countries, they have a different system where the judge is the prosecutor, and you have to defend your case to the prosecutor. Here in America, we have an accusatory system where a prosecutor accuses somebody, and they present their cases to the judge, who is neutral and detached. So you have a prosecutor and you have a defense attorney, and they present the case to the judge makes the decisions, In other countries, the prosecutor is the judge and you have to defend yourself against the judge. So we have a different system, but there's no school for it. And we don't only become criminal judges or civil judges or juvenile judges. We're expected to become general jurists. So today I'm doing juvenile, tomorrow I might be in the family court. The day after that, I might do civil. It depends on how we're assigned, but there's no school for it. Initially, you have to be a lawyer. You have to be a lawyer for at least 5 years. And there's some additional requirements, but this is not something you do right out of law school. There are some requirements, but you do have to go to law school. You have to become a lawyer, and then you can become a judge if you're elected by the people or appointed by the governor.
Judge, thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me.
It's an honor to have you here with us today. And, you know, as Judge Delgado said, becoming a judge is not for all lawyers, and most lawyers will never become a judge. But, you know, I think it's good to think about if you want to be an attorney, and you have aspirations of being a judge, this sort of can give you a roadmap for how to get there. So Judge, thank you so much.
In Palm Beach County, we have 1.4 million people, but there's only 50 judges. It's not for everybody.
Thank you again. So our next topic, our next career topic is that of a law professor. Now, Vanessa Calcano Thomas unfortunately was not able to finish her hearing in time to join us. So what I'm going to be doing is switching from this PowerPoint to a YouTube that she recorded earlier, doing her portion of the presentation. So just give me one moment while I make that switch. And Sherry and Judge Delgado and Elroy, if for whatever reason you can't hear the sound on this, just give me a thumbs down and I'll try to adjust it.
Good morning, everybody. My name is attorney Vanessa Calcano Thomas, and I run my own law firm, Calcano Thomas Law, but I also have been working as a part-time professor for Valencia College for the past 5 years. And so a little bit about me is that I actually graduated from Valencia College and then went to UCF, got a bachelor's degree from there, and pursued a career as a housing counselor. Initially, when I graduated out of there, realized I loved managing people and cases, and I love to help people because during that time period, I was helping families stay in their homes and achieve being able to get a modification and avoid foreclosure. So it was very rewarding work that became an interest in going into law school, which I had never contemplated before that time. And so then I went to FAMU College of Law. And so in order to become a law professor, and you know, really what is a law professor is someone who just has a law degree and then teaches law courses. And so for me, I teach at Valencia College, but I could also teach at UCF, graduate courses. I could also teach at a law school as well, law courses. And so really at the end of the day, it's anyone that has a law school education could teach law courses. Okay, and the law degree that you would be getting is called a Juris Doctorate. And so essentially what a law professor does is that they help to facilitate learning. And so for many reasons and for the many things that you've already heard is that somebody who pursues a career in law and then teaching law is really just a public servant. And so we are serving people, we are helping them learn, whether it's managing their cases, or as a law professor, you're helping them learn and gain knowledge about what the law is and how to apply it, for instance, in my courses to business. And so in my role, I help with creating papers, I create syllabus, I create discussions, because a lot of the discussions is similar to what is used in law school, which is the Socratic method, which is a sort of a question and answer method where we go back and forth in the classroom about hot topics and controversial ideas. And we just discuss the law. So the reason that you should become a law professor is number one, it is really gratifying work. And it is a lot of the times it could be the opposite of, and a good balance of, to being an attorney, because when you're an attorney, you're always resolving conflict, versus when you're a law professor, you're sort of helping to facilitate information and helping students to learn. And so you're helping people gain knowledge. And being an attorney can sometimes be not just helping people gain knowledge, but also having to advocate for those individuals that you are representing in cases. So it would be nice for anyone who wants to be a public servant, who wants to have a stable career, because I've been doing it for 5 years. And really the pay is good if you want to be a professor at a law school, or even at on a graduate level. I mean, I've been offered, after I started at Valencia College, and in the last few years, I was offered to work at UCF teaching graduate courses, but I turned it down because I was happy doing, the attorney work and continuing with Valencia because they have a great work culture there. But yes, the pay is between 50 to 160 per year, just depending on your role and what school that you're at. But it can be a really fulfilling role.
Okay, I'm going to stop this share. And I'm going to pivot over to the Q&A and the chat and see if we have any questions. So if any of the attendees have any questions for any of the panelists or general questions, you can put them in the chat or the Q&A, and we will take your questions. While you all are thinking about and formulating and typing your questions, I am going to actually ask one question of each of our panelists now. And I think when we all were preparing for this panel, you do a little self-reflection and you think about what sort of led you to this place in your life and the career that you have. And so we knew we were speaking to students today. So I will ask you, and Sherry, I'm going to start with you. We're going to go in the same order we presented, if that's okay. If you could give your high school self one piece of advice, what would that advice be?
The one piece of advice, as I explained, the importance of the writing and the research, is to not be afraid to speak up, to do debate, to do theater, to express yourself, and take that extra class to expand what you, even though you think you want to be a nurse or a doctor. Well, even those professions need a little extra stuff. Don't be afraid to try something different, and always trust yourself. As long as you're not doing anything illegal, trust yourself and trust your judgment.
Good advice. Good advice. Elroy, same question. If you could give your high school self any advice, what would that advice be to help get you where you are today?
Yeah, I think I would have told myself, at the time, just a reminder that it's not a race. I think that's good advice for law school. I think it's good advice for life. If you choose this career, you get to law school, there are going to be a lot of different students doing a lot of different things. They may be in different situations that you are, and you may feel like maybe you are not moving as fast as they are, or you're not as distinguishing yourself in the way that they are. And I think what's important for law school and for life is to understand that you have to do it at your own pace. You have to act and perform in the way that best reflects you and to the best of your ability. And taking time to understand yourself, how you learn, how you excel, how you best operate, that's going to be a better investment of your time than trying to keep up with everybody else. So putting time into understanding yourself and what makes you operate at your highest capacity, that's time well worthwhile. And I would have told myself to invest more time in those early years of my 20s, figuring out what makes me tick and what puts me in a position to be my best.
Thank you so much. I think that's a point well made. Judge Delgado, same question. If you could go back and give your high school self some advice, especially to get you where you are today, what would that advice be?
Don't talk yourself out of doing what you want to do. It's easy for us to get in our own heads. I think it's important to remember the path is not always straight. Sometimes it's curved, sometimes it's circular, and sometimes it loops around. But if you want to get to your goal, don't talk yourself out of it. A lot of other people are going to do that for you. And sometimes you have to maybe not listen to them and focus on your studies and focus on what it is that you want to do. I'll give you an example. When I was in high school, I didn't have a lot of money. I was very poor. And so I had an adult tell me that I shouldn't apply to a certain set of colleges because I'd never be able to afford them. And I didn't want to put my parents in that position, so I didn't apply to those colleges. It's the single biggest regret of my entire life because I let someone get into my head. I think where there's a will, there's a way. You heard earlier, I enlisted in the Marine Corps in part because of the GI Bill. And so if I hadn't listened to them, I could have used the GI Bill to pay for school at those other universities. Don't talk yourself out of something. If it's something that you want to do and you've done your homework and you've done your research and you feel like it is something that you can accomplish, then don't talk yourself out of it. Other people will try to do that for you. And even then, you have goals for a reason. Go after them. The path is not straight.
Gemma, could I just say one quick thing? Go Army, beat Navy. Not directed at anybody in particular.
Well, thank you both. Yes, that's right. I will say this. I mean, I'll give one general piece of advice as well that I would have given my high school self. I think the key when you're thinking about what you want to do in your future, in your life, you should identify people who do that and ask them for help and ask them to be your mentor. And I will say this, powerful people, judges, CEOs, partners in law firms, they are actually generally quite nice and quite helpful. And when a student, a high school student, a college student, a law student emails them, reaches out to them on LinkedIn, messages them and says, I want to do what you do. I want to be where you are. Can you give me advice? Can we schedule a phone call? Can you be my mentor? I've done this throughout my career and I've never had anyone say no. And a lot of the times when you're young, it can be intimidating. But if someone has what you want, you should very nicely say, I think it's amazing that you started this law firm and now you're a partner and you have 100 lawyers all over the US. How do I do that? Or you were a Florida Supreme Court justice and you're retired now. I want to do that. How do I become what you did? How can I get there? And so I think I would encourage you just individually, feel confident in your own self to reach out to these, I would say, powerful people or anyone who you admire and respect and say, how do I get there? Can you help me? And I don't want to guarantee it, but I will say almost always they will at minimum, return your email or have a phone call with you. And potentially you may find a mentor and someone to help you and give you advice throughout your career. So that would be my advice. Just find those people, identify them and reach out. Don't be shy and don't feel a lack of confidence. With that said, I don't see any questions in the chat or the Q&A. Lynn, do you see any that I am potentially missing?
I do not. Anybody have any questions, last minute questions?
Okay, well, it is 11:20. We want to thank you so much. We're a little bit under time, so we want to thank you so much for joining us today. And we're just grateful that you were able to let us into your world today to talk to you about the careers that we all love. And we hope we provided you some information to help you follow those paths if these are paths that you feel like are in your future. And I will say, I think really from everyone on this call, all of our journeys to where we are have been fairly circuitous. They have not been, none of them have been directly, X, Y, Z. So feel free to, think about when you think about your future, exploring and trying different things. There's the joke that in today's generation, you'll do 7 careers before you retire. And I think that that's really maybe not that far off. So even if paralegal, lawyer, judge, or law professor may not be your first career, certainly keep these things that we've talked to you about today in your mind, and think about them and for your future. With that, thank you so much, and have a good end of the school year and a good safe summer. Thank you all.
Bye, Ms. Jim.